Hi everyone, Melanie Iverson here. I'm so happy to be here and to be doing the next video. As I mentioned in the videos prior to this one, this year as Mrs. North Dakota International 2020, I have this platform of overcoming. You can see my t-shirt, She Overcomes, and it's a threefold platform. And I've talked about before that our whole lives are integrated right now, and that I am the same person at home right now where I'm shooting this video as I am at work, because this is also my office, as I am with my kids, I'm all the same people right now. And we used to have our lives be separate. It used to be in different silos, if you will, as my friend Jennifer talks about, and because they're not, I have been really thinking about how we holistically view ourselves in this idea of overcoming, how we overcome obstacles in our personal life, personal just restoration, things that we have to work on, because I really believe that bleeds from your personal, here's my favorite quote, theologian, favorite quote from my favorite female performer, Lauryn Hill. How are you going to win if you ain't right within, right? Going old school with that. But the reality is, if we are not taking care of ourselves here, what we bring to our relationships, what we bring to the world and our businesses is going to be off. It's going to be off, because we are living in a world right now where everything is integrated. And so as I have these pillars, if you will, of overcoming, we've got that personal restoration. We have the idea of relational reconciliation, and then professionally, globally, or corporately, I guess, if you will, this idea of reformation. And how can we change here? But we can't if we don't change here. And so today, I'm going to talk a little bit about my own personal restoration, my own story. A few years ago, I went through a very dark time when I was so depressed and I just could not get out of it. As many of you know, I had gone through a divorce. James and I were separate. We officially divorced, and I had a total identity crisis. And in that time, I was doing interior design work and really loving entrepreneurship, and I hit a wall, and I hit it hard, and I felt like I lost all creativity. I lost creativity in the workplace. I lost creativity in my own life, and I hit a wall. And so what happened for me in that time is I decided to take a break from doing interior design, because my clients deserved more. And I started working at an agency where I was doing anti-trafficking. And during that time, I was really wrestling and going through some hard stuff in therapy. And while I was doing trauma therapy, while I was talking day in and day out about anti-trafficking, what happened to my mental health was I just kind of flatlined. And I was still showing up for my life. I was still parenting. I was doing all of this stuff, but I just could not dig myself out of the hole that I had been in. And so during that time, I almost entirely quit wearing makeup. I basically just wore black turtlenecks and black pants all the time, which is fine. I love it. Me and Steve Jobs, But what I realized was that I had allowed myself to feel so angry and so cynical, and it's fine to go through those seasons. I love wearing all black, all of that. But what happened for me is I started looking at other women, and quite frankly, I've done this my whole life, where I've looked at another woman who looks like she has everything going for her. She's got the husband, she's got the job, she's beautiful, her body's amazing. And I've done that my whole life. I have been surrounded by beautiful women my entire life, because I have 5 sisters, and they're stunning, and so this wasn't a new problem that I was having, comparing myself to other people. And so what happened during this identity crisis was I just a bit gave up on myself, and And I started looking at those women who had the jobs, who had the happy life that I thought, that Instagram told me that they did. And I really started judging them. I started looking at the clothes they were wearing and feeling just kind of smugly superior to women who maybe wore more makeup than I would. I felt smugly superior to women who were dressing beautifully, but I would say things like, well, I don't need to do that because I don't care what people think about me. And the reality is I care a lot. The truth is I didn't have the capacity to take care of myself well at that time. And so I kind of threw the baby out with the bathwater. And what was going on my inside was so painful. And as I compared the hurt, the rejection, the insecurity that I had on the inside, and I compared that to those women who were looking put together on the outside, I always came up short. And that spirit of comparison, that idea of comparison, was just frankly my everyday life. It's just how I looked at myself and how I looked at them. And as you can imagine, when you're constantly comparing yourself and always insecure, it's hard to build relationships. It's hard to build authentic community of people that you care for and trust about when you're always in that space of insecurity, when you're always in that space of comparison, because we will always come up short and we will always feel that way. And so as I was really doing a ton of therapy, I was working through a lot of garbage from my past, and in that season, I went to this conference. It's actually a workshop. It's called the Single Life Workshop in Northern California in Redding. And I heard about it from a friend, whatever, and so I went as this single mom, as a single woman. And at some point in the conference, this woman got up, just beautiful woman, Lori, she's the co-founder, and she talked about self-hatred. And I feel like self-hatred is, it's a hard word. It didn't really compute to me, but as she started talking about the feelings of inadequacy, the feelings of insecurity, she talked about people with a history of eating disorders, which I have had. I have been treated for those eating disorders. And she talked about that idea of always feeling like I'm less than, always feeling like I just can't measure up. And I would never have called that self-hatred. I was just like, I'm just perpetually trying to be better, And but she talked about that, and she talked about our bodies and the gifts that our bodies are. And some of in my faith tradition, I'm a Christian. We believe that your body is the temple where the Spirit lives, and so there's this self-care that has to happen. Unfortunately, sometimes people think of self-indulgence as self-care, and they're not the same thing. And so Lori, anyhow, I'm back at this place. She's talking about, if you have hated the way that you looked, if you've hated your body, how can you give something? How can you give a gift to your significant other that you hate? Why would I give my significant other trash as a gift? I wouldn't. I would want to take care of myself and know that I am uniquely and wonderfully made just as I am. And that hit me because I have not liked how I look. I have not liked certain things about myself for my whole life. And so what she did, I followed her directions. It seemed super kind of hokey in the moment, but she told us to go back home. So I was staying at an Airbnb, and I followed her directions, and this is what I did. I went back and undressed. And of course I'm alone in this bathroom and I'm naked looking at myself in the mirror. And what I did was I started looking at all the things that I didn't like about myself. So a couple years ago, number of years ago now, I had a stalker attack me, and he broke my nose and really and hurt me. But more than that, it crushed my the way I saw myself and the value that I have. And I have this scar that never went away. And so every time I looked in the mirror, what I would see is that I'm not valuable, that the detectives didn't follow up in a way I thought that they should, and the case was dropped and he was never charged. And so every time I look at that scar, I think about me as a failure, you know, and every time I was looking at certain parts of my body, very honestly, I would look at my breasts and just be like, oh my gosh, they're droopy and I'm in my 30s and I don't have perky boobs. Or, you know, I'd look at my stomach and I had babies. I'm so lucky to have had children, but I have these stretch marks and my stomach will never be flat. And so these were the kinds of things that I'm thinking about myself in that mirror. And what she said to do was, you know, of course, in my faith tradition, we talk to God and we pray. And she said, each one of those things that you have hated about yourself, confess that to God and say, God, I'm so sorry that I've judged your creation. You know, that I, as the work of art, have said, the artist is crappy and didn't do a good job, you know, and I'm a painter. The painting that's behind me is something I've painted, and this painting, although it's not done yet, has never called me out and said, you suck, you know, but repeatedly with my thoughts and my actions and my behavior and hating the things on my body, that's exactly what I was saying to my creator. So what I did is I body part by body part, I said, you know, God, I'm sorry that I hate this scar on my face. And instead of it reminding me that I'm resilient and that I'm strong and that I'm tenacious, I've allowed that to push me down and to bring about shame. And so I just confess that to you, and I'm not going to do that anymore. And I did that for each part of my body. I said, you know, I confessed that I didn't like that I didn't have big perky boobs, and just said, like, I'm sorry that I've judged your creation. And as I did it all the way down, you know, head to toe, confessing where I've cursed my own self, nothing amazing happened, no electric shock, no thunder and lightning, but there was this peace that came over me. And I wouldn't have told you this then, but what I know now is what was happening was the first step in radical acceptance. This is who I am. You know, and what was ironic was all the places that I hated on my body were all the things, most of them, the things that make me uniquely feminine. They make me uniquely me as a woman. And I just thought that was so fascinating. And so as I took that first step into radical acceptance, what happened was, then what she tells you to do is she says, no, I want you to ask the Spirit to bless your body. There's this beautiful book by Arthur Burke that talks about spirit blessings. And so what I did is then I went back through and I said, I bless my face to be connected and to be spirit filled, and I just want to thank you for this gift that you have given me. And I did that on every body part that I have that I had formerly cursed, essentially. And when I left, again, no fireworks, nothing, but there was a softness that I felt was restored back to my femininity. There was moments where I could look at myself and be like, yeah, I'm all right. I'm okay. You know, I went home after that feeling really kind of vulnerable. Like, for the first time in my life, I didn't hate what I saw in the mirror. And didn't also necessarily wear a lot of makeup yet. Didn't do anything like that because I was just like, I don't care. And but I came home and I decided to join a gym because I want to take care of myself, you know. And I was like, I love this body and I want it to last as long as it can. And so I joined a gym. But it was the first time in my whole life I wasn't working out to punish myself. My whole life I have exercised to punish myself for lacking self-control, for eating too much, for drinking too much, for whatever. And when I went home, what I noticed when I would work out is rather than being like, because my self-talk in my head was really negative, and it was like, come on, fatty, hurry up. You know, like that's how I'm talking to myself silently. But what happened was I would go to these classes where all of these strong, hard workers were, and I would be like, I am strong. I am building this muscle. I'm building reps right now, and I can do this because I'm strong. And it shifted the way in which I cared for my body. It became less punitive, less about punishment, and more about, I love this gift and I want to care about it, you know. And I talked about it a while ago on a post on Facebook, but you know, as my femininity started to transform, I started actually wearing different clothes. I started wearing things that kind of made me feel cuter, you know. You don't have to wear a certain type of brand or clothing to feel great, but whatever you need to do for you to feel that confidence is what's going to shift your perspective. For me, I started changing my wardrobe just a tiny bit. I bought a new lipstick color because I just sort of was like, it's cool, it's pretty, you know. And so what, you know, I've said it before, but what makes me feminine is not magnetic lashes, it's not all the most expensive makeup, but there are things that I do to care about myself. There are things that I do today that make me feel confident, and I don't feel guilty about that anymore. We can go overboard, we can indulge, but there's this healthy balance when we have stepped boldly into radical acceptance of what we have been given. And what I noticed was that personal restorative thing that happened to me was now affecting me relationally with other people. What happened here impacted the way I engaged later on with who is now my husband again, James. And the way that I behaved with him was different because I felt that I was finally right within. I was finally in that good place again, to where I regained some creativity. I regained this ability to care about things that before I just felt were stupid, you know. And in a professional connection to that is professionally now, I am again in this creative space, but I'm surrounded in my day-to-day with my company, but also with She Overcomes, the nonprofit, with strong, smart, tenacious, resilient women, and it would be really easy to look at them and to judge them wherever they are in their process. Makeup, no makeup, I don't care, it doesn't matter. Like, that kind of stuff is irrelevant. But it would be really easy to slip back into some of those old ways and do the comparison game again. And something that I have noticed because of what I did over here with my own self is that it is so much easier today to build up other women who could be my competition. I'm not scared anymore because I don't fear that there's a lack of resources. I don't fear that there's a lack, like somehow if I uplift this woman over here, she's gonna take my spotlight and then I've given it all away. Like, that's garbage and that's crap. But I think I wouldn't have got to this place where I can really confidently partner with strong women and say, yeah, she is awesome. She is amazing. In here, and I'll tell you all the reasons why she is amazing. And I think it's because I am in a place today where I know who I am. I know why I'm here. And that honestly is always changing. This year has been the craziest year of my whole life. And I'm pivoting just like everyone else and figuring it out. But if you have struggled with insecurity, if you have found yourself secretly competing with women in your community, I'm going to challenge you today to ask yourself why. What is it about your heart, about your career, about your relationships that is making it hard for you to be excited and happy when another woman succeeds? And if you discover there's some stuff like, I'm sorry, but Lauryn Hill, right? If there's some stuff that is not right inside of you, you are not going to win these battles that you have in your everyday life. And so for me, I'm a journaler. I like to write this stuff out, and that's a lot of what I do is I journal it out. But I just want to encourage you to know that you are uniquely and beautifully made. And if you need to go get naked in a mirror by yourself to discover that, I seriously want to encourage you to do that. If you need to go get a book, like Arthur Burke's book on spirit blessings, I would encourage you to do that. Whatever you need to do in your process. If you feel better after putting on some makeup and some earrings, there's no shame in that. You do what you need to do to feel confident, and know that another woman's success does not mean you are less than. It means that we are rising together, and that we together can overcome these obstacles in front of us. And so thank you guys so much. Thank you for listening to this. Thank you for watching. If you want to watch more about my own personal restoration that led to a relational reconciliation, and then of course, professionally, the work that we're doing with She Overcomes, please subscribe and like. And pretty soon we're gonna do the next episode on what I'm doing to get ready for the international competition, which is going to include a lot of information about extensions, which I'm not wearing, earrings, all the things. So like, if you're just kind of curious about the process, like, make sure that you like and subscribe so you can stay tuned. Thank you.